Hi, I'm Greg Prickerill. I'm one of the co-founders of career.pm, and today I would like to do a briefing on a tool we've developed called the New Product Canvas. If you're like us, you're asking yourself, why would somebody create a new canvas? Well, we've used traditional canvases like the business model canvas, the lean canvas with clients, with students, with the folks we coach, and we keep encountering the same issues like terminology we don't agree with, the fact that it reflects nothing about risk, the difficulty in building a story based on what you put in the building blocks. So we thought it was worth trying something new. We did. The response has been great. Like all good product managers, we are optimizing for a target market. We are looking primarily at product managers who want to drive a decision as part of what we call triage. So this is before you start formal product discovery. You have a bunch of ideas for products. You can put a canvas together very quickly, socialize that, get input, and it can help you decide which ones have legs, which ones you should invest in, because product discovery itself is a lot of effort. You can use this canvas all the way through the product lifecycle. This is how it's optimized. We can see huge value with this thing in startups and other contexts, but how it differs from other canvases is that it's really built from a product perspective for product managers. So let's take a look at the canvas itself. In the far left, we have a building block around problems. As a PM, you have to understand the market problems that you're solving. So here you would typically put 3 to 5 key problems that you want to solve. In the next building block, you will describe the product or solution that you want to build, and a solution is a combination of offerings. Here you call out the key feature areas. My guess is often this will be 5 to 7 things, and naturally they should probably address the problems that you identify. The reader should be able to do that mapping fairly easily. Moving right, the next building block is market segments. The market are all the entities with means and interest to buy your product. Segments are cohorts within that market who have similar requirements. Other canvases call this customer segments. Never liked it. As a startup or a new product, you may not have any customers. You need to understand the market. Some will think that's just a terminology nit. We think it's important. Next building block, why we'll win. This replaces the unique value proposition building block in the lean canvas. And our experience was time and time again that a lot of companies, especially in mature markets, have very little that is truly unique. So we think it's more important to summarize why you will win. Decision makers ask this question. Why will you win with this idea, with this new product? So you could very well list value propositions here. You could list unique value propositions, but together they should tell a story about why you think you can win with this product. The next building block probably requires a bit more explanation. It's called moats. What is a moat? Well, moat, or an economic moat, was a concept promoted by Warren Buffett. And it's just a big advantage that you have that protects your business from competition. It might be that it's expensive to switch from your solution. It might be that you have patents and people can't deliver the exact same solution. There are different kinds of moats, but what we want to do here is convince ourselves that we're not going to build something and then just get killed in the market, maybe by a bigger company, an established company. Investors, decision makers are interested in what moats you are developing. So deserves quite a bit of thought. The next building block is success measures. And here you want to capture the metrics you're going to use to measure your success. Very important. Are you going after revenue or adoption? Are monthly active users important to you? We'll go through an example later that will, I think, help explain that, but it's essentially the same thing as the metrics building block in the lean canvas. But here we're really focused on how will we measure success. The next building block is key risks. And this was an omission from the other canvases. I understand why they did it. A canvas needs to fit on one page. It's brutal triage. But since we are focusing on decision makers, we think that on this top level, there has to be some information about the risks that could prevent your being successful based on the measures you define. So we would expect this to be 3 or 4 risks. Maybe a big competitor could enter the market. Maybe there's a lot of implementation risk around the product. Maybe, it's not feasible. All kinds of things, regulation, those kinds of things. Next building block is marketing reach. And this reflects the fact that many products are built by organizations, by startups that are great, but they simply can't get the message to enough people to build a sustainable business. So in the marketing reach building block, there should be a few bullets that convince you and decision makers that you can reach enough people to build that sustainable business. The last 2 building blocks are the same on the business model and lean canvases. We switched the order. We think in terms of telling a story. You would start with revenue streams, how you'll make money, and follow up on cost. And by the way, for tech companies, the cost structure tends to be very, very similar. Sometimes there are a couple outliers, but they tend to be similar. So if you look at this canvas as a whole and just read it left to right, top to bottom, we think it is in better order to tell a nice story. So let's look at an example. I did this one for Zoom. It's not meant to be exhaustive or super accurate. It's meant to give you an approachable example of how you can use the new product canvas. So if we look at the problems that we're going to solve, what problems does Zoom solve? We're not productive, we can't collaborate well. Setting up a lot of other tools is complicated, it's difficult, maybe other people don't have them. So Zoom has solved those problems and some other ones as well. If where you're broadcasting, you don't want people to see the background, they have these virtual backgrounds. They even have software that will touch up your face so that it looks better. What is the solution? Here we name the key elements, and these address the problems that we identified. This should not be 20 things. This should be 5 to 7 big things that you're going to deliver. What are the segments they're going after? Well, we can imagine they would want to go after knowledge workers, especially working from home, tech companies doing promotion, doing some kind of marketing. So it's important to look at the cohorts within the broader market, who you will target. Why will they win? Well, they're really hanging their success, according to us, on this market-leading ease of use. And they've factored the freemium features in such a way that you can get a lot of value out of it for free. But if you want some pretty common, cool things, you need to upgrade. And they've got a nice, entry-level package. What are the moats? Well, if they can get it out to enough people, there's this network effect where a lot of people are using it. So for a competitor to change the behavior of a lot of people would be very difficult. Here we're pretending that they patented this background, these virtual backgrounds. That's just an example of how protecting IP can be a moat. And since they're big, since they're making money, they can be very flexible with their pricing. How will they measure success? We imagine that they would look at monthly active users, total minutes spent in calls. Sometimes they publish those figures. What percentage of calls are made as part of a subscription? We'll see subscriptions when we talk about revenue streams, total uptime. They might look at the number of security breaches because it turns out that can be a risk. The next building block is key risks. There's a big risk that this just becomes commoditized. It's basic kind of telecommunications or collaboration, and indeed this is happening if it hasn't happened already. A lot of people offer this, so that would tend to put pressure on market share, on margins. And they also have a risk if there's a big security issue, very public meeting that somebody breaks into or data is somehow taken, that could reflect poorly on them and hurt their business. How are they going to get the word out there? They're probably relying on word of mouth and referrals. This is a dangerous approach, but it's worked for them. So for your product idea, you should think about that profoundly. Maybe your company already has a sales force. Maybe you belong to some association that can help. They probably did a lot of social media advertising. I don't know that these are super compelling, but this is how they plan to reach the segments that they've identified. What are their revenue streams? They have various types of subscriptions. They promote hardware and make some money. I did a little research and found that out. Their cost structure looks like most tech companies. They're going to do some software development. They're going to have to market this thing, and they have ongoing infrastructure costs. This next building block just summarizes each building block, is basically a summary of what I've told you. So we hope you find this useful. We would love to hear your feedback. If you use this successfully with your business, with a client, we would love to hear about it. Thank you.